Hi everybody, Norman Van Aken here with this week's Treasure Cookbook from the Treasure Book series. This book is appropriately titled perfectly, Think Like a Chef by Tom Colicchio. I noticed yesterday when I was going through this to make some notes and gather my thoughts that this book was published in 2000. It is as fresh as today. This book, this is a big compliment coming from me, I think, because this book reminds me of the way James Beard's theory and practice of good cooking was for me, which meant that it really opened the doors for me to be able to see into the world of cuisine. Before Mr. Beard, I was without a compass or map. Tom, of course, generations later, well, a generation and a half or two, came along and came up with this book. 2002, we were together, Tom and I, next to each other here in this photo, for an event that was arranged by a mutual friend named Mickey Baxt. There's Tom. Looks a little different, but we all do. Michael Romano, and of course, Daniel Boulou. What a fire engine that guy is. They're all fire engines. They're all amazing chefs. Well, those three. Anyway, let's get into this book. The foreword by Mr. Danny Meyer, who wrote this classic work, setting the table. Anybody that's interested remotely in the world of hospitality needs to read this book, and he did autograph it for me. Come and take a screenshot, folks, if you want. You can see what Danny wrote. So kind, so generous, like he always is. So let's get into this. Think Like a Chef. And right away, much like the restaurant that Tom created named Craft, which he did subsequent to Gramercy Tavern, where I did cook with him there, he gets straight into the techniques: roasting, braising, blanching, stock making, sauce making. Again, very reminiscent of, in the best way, of Theory and Practice of Good Cooking by James Beard. Then he does these other chapters: studies, trilogies, component cooking, and a few favorites. Danny, in his foreword here, he's writing, "Taste of the Nation was a sellout that evening, keeping me too busy to sample food at many of the chefs' tasting tables. But sensing that I'd be well rewarded, I did make a beeline for Tom Colicchio's table. There I saw a smiling, confident chef plating and serving something that looked odd yet compelling. Into spiny sea urchin shells, he was spooning a fondue of sea urchin, crab meat, and pureed potatoes, and then sprinkling the rim of each tasting plate with an aromatic curry powder. A few of the less adventurous guests moved politely along to the next table. I guess they were scared of the urchin when they saw what was coming. Many others, however, clamored for more. I was salivating. Tom spotted me toward the back of the line and slipped me an urchin when no one was looking." Well, they're pals. That's all right. Okay. In the preface, he gets right to this. I love this picture of him and his grandfather here. You can get this book online easily. "I never intended to write a cookbook." I'm with you on that. When I started, it was a surprise. "I've had numerous requests over the year, but I never wanted to, mostly because for me, recipes have never been the point. Frankly, I learned to cook in order to get away from recipes. I couldn't fathom how to capture on the page what inspires me about cooking: the immediacy, the creative process." Then he recounts this. "My first job when I was 10 was at an open-air food market in the Italian neighborhood of Elizabeth, New Jersey, where my Uncle George sold vegetables. This was in the days before green markets came into vogue, and we were selling pretty mundane stuff, potatoes and cauliflower, I think. I watched Italian immigrants of my grandparents' generation hovering over each purchase, touching the food, smelling it, picking the perfect chicken to be killed and plucked out back. Every choice was of monumental importance, and it was here that I first became aware of the significance of food in people's lives." Setting, place, character, like Dickens. It's beautiful. Every cook, and I mean cook in the best way because I consider myself a cook as much as I consider myself, or others do, a chef, feels the power of this, what he has just said. Start your list, your own list of the chefs that you think of when you think of the way Tom just expressed this. Jeremiah Tower, Alice Waters, Charlie Trotter, they'd be right at the top of my list. Roasting. Okay, I'm going to get into the headspace. Remember, the title of this book is Think Like a Chef. As a rule, I prefer pan roasting. It allows me to effect a transformation on something almost immediately. Roasting in an oven cheats me of the audible, visual, and tactile cues that are such a gratifying step of the cooking process. Isn't that why we cook? I don't think we cook primarily for the end result. I think it's the act of cooking. I think it's the pleasure as cooks that we get. Yes, we want to make the people that we are cooking for get pleasure too. But I promise you that unless you're feeling pleasure as you're cooking, it will never come out to the guests as we go along. As usual, there's always some surprises in my treasure books, and here is a menu, a beautiful menu from Gramercy. I wish the date was on this thing, but I'm guessing it had to be around the same time as the book coming out. What a beautiful restaurant. Tom, of course, has moved on to do other things, but Gramercy is still there and still one of the most common places, one of the most for sure places that we're going to go to, whether we're going to the tavern out front or to the more formal but friendly formal, as everything that Danny does is, restaurant in the back. What else do we have here? Little treasures in the treasure books. Oh, perfect. I mentioned craft. If you're like those of you watching, take a screenshot and look at the menu. Tom really devised something quite unique. New York hadn't seen something like this, at least not as far as I'm concerned. And it became a way for you to build your own meal progression by choosing from the various columns. It was the craft of the menu in this particular case. Love the cheeses. I love when restaurants give consideration to cheeses. And I know my friend Terrence Brennan, who's also on Substack, absolute genius of cheeses, and created one of the best restaurants in the world to enjoy them. What's more? Oh, a card from dear friends from California. And what's my last little marker here all about? This was in the chapter called Trilogies. In this one, Tom starts off with these three: asparagus, ramps, and morels. This took me right back to being in Paris with our dear friends Prol and Connie Perry, where we went in the spring of God knows what year. The children went to Europe with us, but they didn't come to Ducasse with us for reasons you can imagine. Price. But Chef Ducasse had the Prefet menu, which was featuring asparagus and morels. And I think there were 8 courses, just beautiful depictions capturing the essence of springtime through those ingredients. Maybe they didn't have ramps in Paris, but they certainly had morels, they certainly had asparagus. Tom, I hope you're doing well. I'm sure that you are. One of my favorite people in the business. I'm laughing because I just remembered us being at the Naples Wine and Food Festival one particular year, and we didn't realize it at the time that both of us love music, so much so that after we got done doing our gig, we both got to the stage, and you played guitar and were rocking it, and I had my harmonica and I was rocking it, and we both looked at each other and said, I had no idea. Not until you got to Key West and visited me some years later did we get to jam. But we jammed that night, just a little bit, but we got to jam too. This book is a jam, and a gem. All right, I have to go. I'm gonna go see what I can find in the grocery stores or the grain markets out there in America. All right, take care, everyone. Have a wonderful night. I'll talk to you again soon.